Welcome to Helping Hands with your hosts, John Neiman and Judy Ritchie.
Hello and welcome to Helping Hands. This is our opportunity to let you and the community know how you can lend a helping hand to a program or agency in need. I'm Judy Ritchie, Community Advocate.
I'm John Neiman with Aurora Medical Center. Welcome to our August edition of Helping Hands. My question for you is, how is your garden growing? As you can tell by our garden on our set, it's growing wonderfully here. It's been a great summer. It's been going by
very fast.
Very fast. But we're glad that you could be with us for our August edition of Helping Hands. Special thank you to our sponsors, which are Harnick's on 9th Street with their floral decor, and also then Aurora Healthcare, who's our monetary sponsor for the show, who helps us keep it on the air, and this is our 15th year on the air. Where can you hear us? Where can you see us? You can hear us on 101.9 FM. You also can see us on Oshkosh Media. I encourage you all to go to the oshkoshmedia.org website and see all the wonderful programs that are on there, but you also can see where we fit during the week. We're on 5 of the 7 days of the week, which we really thank Oshkosh Media for. It's great publicity to bring volunteerism and volunteer opportunities to talk about them in our wonderful community. I do have to tell you about our first guest. I have known her for quite a long time. I've just never met her because she sneaks into Aurora when I'm not there.
That's not a nice thing to say about her.
And she brings presents, which is always a good thing. So our topic today is Oshkosh Rocks, and with artist Candy Norris-Lou. So welcome to our show.
Thank you, John.
And one of the things that really impresses me about with the project that you're doing is you're leaving rocks all over the place. You're the rock lady.
Yeah, I always have them in my pocket or with me when I travel. So I leave them everywhere.
And kind of explain why you're leaving painted rocks all over.
Well, it all started with a phone call I got from my cousin, and her grandson had picked up a rock in Belmont, North Carolina, which is where I'm originally from, and he was so excited. Well, she kind of explained how it was, you find it, you rehide it. Well, he's fairly young, and he didn't really like the fact that he was going to have to rehide it, which is not a requirement on most of the rock groups. But so I told her, I said, I'll paint him a rock, and I'll send it. So I painted one for my nephew, and then her grandson and her granddaughter, and I sent them. And then I got to think, oh, well, that is a really neat idea. So I just got online and I looked up, the rocks, and then I found that it started in Cape Cod, and I was about to make a trip to Cape Cod. So I done some research and went to Sandy Neck Beach in Cape Cod, which is where the original Kindness Rock project started, and done some background there, and then dropped some rocks on the way. And then when I came back, I really got involved with the Oshkosh Rocks. I've painted for a few years now. I do it as just something to mellow me out when I come home from work. I do work full time, but this is something I can do. It's my time. It's me time. The kids don't bother me when I'm doing it. My kids are older, but still, they're pretty needy. So it's just something I enjoy doing. I don't really like the whole hide and seek aspect or the scavenger hunt aspect that a lot of the Facebook groups, rock groups, do seem to go towards. Everybody has a preference. I see nothing wrong with it, but the original Kindness Rock movement was, that's not what it was made for. And I don't like to post when I leave a rock because I don't want somebody to run out and get it. I want it to stay there because I want somebody to stumble upon it that wasn't expecting it. Mm-hmm. That's when they mean the most.
And that's what I think is so cool about, and we're going to see some of Candy's rocks, but can you tell me why or who chose Aurora and why? Because we have a beautiful basket in our chapel of these rocks, and you would not believe the response from our people. It's not only the patients, the family members, the visitors, but it's our own caregivers. Here's some of the rocks as we talk about Oshkosh Rocks, and the basket on the corner is a basket with the rocks. But I'm just so amazed because I saw it like you. I went on Facebook then and I looked, and a lot of it was hiding and seeking, and people were out finding them and posting them. And how did you guys come upon to choose Aurora?
Aurora was my choice.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I live just a couple blocks from Aurora, and I'm a patient at Aurora. And there's been times when I've left an appointment and I've had to take a walk through the healing garden. So I thought, I really think that if someone was to come through the healing garden and they were to find a rock, I know there's been times when it would have really meant a lot to me.
Now look at the one on your screen.
Yes, this is
that is gorgeous.
Thank you. This is one that I done for Kelly Brand, which is the lady that created Oshkosh Rocks. She wanted a rock for the group, and so this is one I done for her private garden.
I hated to interrupt you, but I wanted the audience to know that this is what we're getting. But you were talking about, and our healing garden is gorgeous, but winter was just weird this year.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and when I contacted you, originally we wanted to put it in the healing garden, and so that's where the original table was set up. But then, of course, the winter came, the healing garden was closed. Well, you don't want people to not be able to get the rocks.
Yes.
So it was your choice to move it to the chapel. I thought, well, that's fine. We'll leave them in the chapel, and then, when the season comes, we'll move them back out to the healing garden. But they were in the chapel for a while, and there was a couple times that I went in, and there were people in the chapel. And then there was one time when I went in, and I decided, before I go in the chapel, I think I'm going to cut the corner. So I went to ICU, and there were some nurses at the desk, and I just handed them a rock. And on my way back around the corner, there was a young lady sleeping on the sofa in the family room, and there were a couple adults, and so there was something going on. I didn't ask, it wasn't my business. I just quietly took a couple steps into the room, showed, which I believe it was the young lady's mother or grandmother, showed her the rock. I said, would she like a rock? And I just laid it on the table and walked out. That particular rock was a rock that Lynn Schultz painted. She's from Fondy Rocks. She is absolutely amazing. She does quite a bit of stuff for me to put in the Aurora basket. Her husband does go to Aurora in Fond du Lac, but she does so much for other things that she doesn't have time to do a basket at Aurora in Fond du Lac. So she likes to give back to Aurora, so she gives me stuff to put in the basket. You've probably seen some of her work. It'll be the smaller rocks that are on bells that are made in the necklaces, and she does some that's on magnets. They're usually in little baggies with her little card from Fondy Rocks. That's Lynn. She's totally amazing. It was one of her rocks, and it was on a necklace, and it just looked like it would be something that was a little bit more suiting for a younger person. And so I thought, well, that rock was meant for that young lady that was sleeping on the couch. And then, of course, I went on into the chapel and I finished filling the basket. And I'm there quite often, unfortunately. So I usually it may be 2 or 3. There's been times when I've left 20 or 30. It just depends on what I've had time to do and how many I can get there. I try and get as many as possible. There's been times where it's only been a couple of days in between my basket visits, and they're all gone.
and that is, and what I want to say about none of this was planned. I have to tell you too, I did not know about Candy being a patient in all of this because I've never met her before this. Because when she comes, I'm not there, and when I'm there, she's not there, and this is the first time we've met face to face. But I've appreciated her work, and I just have to say the thing about the rocks, as you call them, kindness stones, because that was a big thing in gift shops a while ago, was to have the coins or the stones.
There's coins, and then there's stones that have like love or whatever, and it's engraved on it.
And having it in the chapel, the healing garden is beautiful, but I think there's more people visit the chapel than the healing garden. So it's a very appropriate place. We've got the blankets and the Afghans, which are, again, can be forever in comfort, and the stones now to pair with that. it's a perfect match.
It is. And I just want to say, like, there's a reason you're doing it, and there's a reason that the stone that you either give to someone or someone takes has meaning. I'm just looking, here we go. Let's
So
take
there's
some of
multiple
these.
sayings, so there's bound to be a rock in there that you
Yes.
need.
And this one, it has a beautiful blue flower, and it says, "You'll do great, just be you." And
This one, look for beauty everywhere you go. People relate to things, and like you said, by the chapel, by the intensive care unit, people need support. They need strength. Our caregivers at Aurora who are working there need that strength. I mean, without change, there would be no butterflies. That's a really...
that's very
That's
true.
very true.
Show the angel.
Oh, you've got to talk about this one then.
Oh, this is a Santorini stone. It comes from Santorini, Greece. And I painted this for Aurora to leave in their chapel or wherever they would like. This is a special rock. I don't put very many of these in the basket, but this is the one that, like I spoke with you, John, we had talked about the basket being in the chapel, and I think that it's best in the chapel. The healing garden, if we want to do, if Oshkosh Rocks wants to get together or another rock group or whatever, we could do something in the healing garden. But I feel like the basket that I started is best in the chapel.
And when you look at something like this, it's gorgeous, and it says, "Believe in angels, and they will always be near." And that is one thing that everyone can relate to, are angels in some manner or form. It's a gorgeous, it's gorgeous, and all of these are gorgeous. I look at them and it's like, I want them all, because every day you feel differently about what your needs are emotionally or spiritually. Sometimes you need something whimsical. Sometimes you need something spiritual. And I think with the rocks that you do, the words mean a lot. It's not always the pictures, it's the words that mean a lot. And we are so appreciative of this. I do have some caregivers that they will go back and post, or they'll post.
Yeah, I've seen a couple posts. Again, that's one of the reasons why I think that the basket that I put rocks in is best in the chapel. I don't care if anybody posts. I'm not looking for the recognition. Really, the rocks help me just as much as it does the person that takes the rock. I paint the rocks because I have chronic pain, and this is one thing that I do that takes my mind off of it when I come home from work. So painting the rocks helps me. Putting the rocks in the basket helps whoever receives the rock. Obviously, whoever takes the rock wants the rock and is enjoying the rock. So whether or not they post a picture, that doesn't necessarily mean anything to me one way or the other.
Right.
Well, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt. I know of a young gal who has just a small rock, and she keeps it in her pocket and uses it like the worry stones of a
stone.
few years ago. She has some anxiety issues and everything, and when she's having one of those times, she just reaches in her pocket and has it in her hand, rubs it, and it calms her, makes her feel so good.
I do have to tell you, too, we have a group of caregivers at Aurora that go through the basket, and they take the rock for 1 week and they pass it on to another caregiver, quietly putting it on their desk. It's just a way of sharing with them. Or when you were in that day, Betty, my wonderful volunteer.
She's probably received one.
She did. She said, this really kind, wonderful lady came up to me and gave me this rock. And Betty was going to keep it on that desk, and she said no. She took it.
Well,
she took
she
it with
did
her.
ask me when I got ready to leave. She said, is this something I can take, or do I need to leave it here? I said, honey, it's your rock. You do what you want with it. But usually, if there's someone at the volunteer desk, I try and make sure that I take one out of the rocks I have and give to her. And then usually there's another desk just to the right when you come in before you get to the chapel. And if there's a lady sitting there, I think there's a lady that's actually received two. She told me, she said, well, you've already given me one. I said, well, now you have two.
Yes.
So that's why I usually drop a couple here or there on my way. I have plenty.
I mean, this is what we're talking about in our world today, of spreading cheer, spreading kindness.
Civility.
Yes, you know. Now, can we talk about one thing? Because it was interesting, because I asked you where the rocks come from originally. I know where rocks come from, but I didn't know if we could just go to the beach and buy rocks or pick rocks. But and then when you were talking to me, you were talking about the coating and not being able to paint on the coating. So if anybody out there is not an artist like me, like in kindergarten, I used a pencil to color with everything. That's my artistic ability. I can't do it. But if somebody wants to donate rocks or money for rocks, you were talking about the place that you get your rocks from?
Yes, most of my rocks come from, well, in the beginning they come from my landscaping, but eventually I ran out of rocks that were paintable. So I had gone to Zilgus, which has donated a lot of rocks to different rock painting deals, but he gave me a contact in Appleton, and it is Kisser Stone and Landscaping. And I contacted that gentleman, and he has a lovely type of rock called rock candy. It's very smooth, and it has that nice polished look. There's no waxy film on it, so you don't have to worry about cleaning it off. And it accepts paint. You can leave it natural, or you can do a base coat on it. I do both, just depends on how I'm feeling that day.
Okay.
But they're great because they're smaller, and they're nice and smooth, and there's really not any prep work whatsoever. I have some that I've actually just put clear coat on, no paint or anything, just clear coat because they're so pretty. He actually is very cheap, very inexpensive, and you can just go out there, you take your bucket, he'll point you to the area they're at, and you can just climb in there and pick all the rocks you want. And if you can't get to some, then you can ask him, and he'll bring the truck in, and they'll move some of them if you need to, if somebody's available.
Now that sounds very therapeutic too, to go play, play in the
I
rocks.
can spend hours picking
That's
through
another
them.
way of doing rock climbing.
Yeah. Wow, I think that's cool. And guess what, Candy, our time is winding down, which I'm amazed because there's so much more we can talk about.
Oh, yeah.
But Oshkosh does rock. Oshkosh is Event City and it rocks. Candy rocks too because this is an important part of therapy, whether it's emotional, whether it's spiritual, whether it's bringing a smile to someone's face, which the screen says right now, spread joy. You're doing it. We truly do appreciate it. I know you said after this taping you're heading back to Aurora to put these rocks in. We truly do appreciate all that you do. If you want to support Candy and her group, if you want more information, please feel free on contacting me or Judy at the end of the show. We'll get you the right information. It's Candy Rocks that we have to look for. So, but Candy does rock here because these mean so much, especially like Judy said and I said and you said, just to have that rock in your hand, it just makes you feel something special. And the messages are really great too. So we really thank you very much for being on our show.
Thank you for having me.
And stay tuned. We'll be back for our second segment of our August edition of Helping Hands.
It's not a charity, it's more than a charity. It's about helping people we live with. It's about being the type of person that the 6-year-old version of ourselves wanted us to be. It's about community and looking out for one another. It's about money, yes, but it's so much more than money. It's about friendship and common values. It's about opening doors when others are slammed shut. It's about giving kids a place to be kids and growing up knowing they live in a community that cares about them. It's about making sure that everyone gets to see the dentist, because we want to make sure that they have every last tooth in those smiles. Ultimately, that's it. It's about the smiles, old smiles and new smiles. It's about us, all of us, our community living united, because great things happen when we live united. Will you join us?
of our August edition of Helping Hands, I just have to say that one thing, there's a lot of things that I regret in life. I don't play the piano. When I went to college, one of the things we had to do was take a piano course. So I'm taking piano lessons with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds who could play, and I could not. So can't play the piano. I love art. I can't paint.
I can't paint, I can't draw. I can do with fabric and needle and thread, but I can't
Which
draw.
is a whole other artistic endeavor.
It is, yes.
So for anybody, to me, it's so simple to do these rocks. If you want more information on, maybe you want to place them, I think a church would be a great place to have a rock basket. There are so many people in need. The Christine Ann Center. I can think of lots of places if you'd like to do a basket and sponsor it. Contact myself. I'll put you in touch with Candy Lou, who's just remarkable.
She is.
Very talented.
And her story behind it.
Yes.
And, how many times do we hear, we go back to when Donna started volunteering at Aurora. It was because of what happened at Aurora for her. Candy that way. So many of our volunteers, when they start volunteering for a particular program, already have a connection there.
Mm-hmm. Which I said I didn't know. I did not know that Candy was a patient. I didn't know the other painter was a patient in Fond du Lac. It's stuff that you find out, but it really shows you that people choose a place to volunteer that means something to them. Whether it's Aurora, whether it's Oshkosh Family, whether it's the Pain, whether it's the library, it has a connection. And then just like our past unsung hero, they bring other people into the group. So that was really exciting.
It was. And when you talk our unsung heroes, our very first one that we recognized, Ann Hawk, was one of the movers with the 4th of July parade. And it was so nice to be able to see her. And one of the original committee members there has had a major setback in health this year, and so is not able to participate as much as usual, but he's still a big spirit behind the group.
Oh. I do want to put out a challenge to our television and radio audience then. Please send us nominations of people that you know that either work behind the scenes or don't get the recognition they should, and send them to Judy or myself. Our information's at the end of the screen. It's nice to find those people like Glenn. Glenn, who's been happily volunteering for 25 years. But we're not only giving Glenn the recognition, but the program he works for.
Absolutely.
The recognition. So I really do encourage you, whether it's at a church or a school or anywhere, just send us information on those volunteers.
And we're not looking just for longevity. We're looking for people who are very humble about what they're doing, who very quietly work as they, are making a difference in the community, who bring others to the program, be it as recipients of the program's services or as volunteers to provide those services. And they deserve the recognition. They're embarrassed by the recognition. And we love surprising them. And to see the look on their face, it's sort of the shock and awe. And then you see a change in the body language. And, last month with the mentor and the mentee and the young man, and you, because of where you were standing, didn't see some of the things I did, and then when we watched the video, the difference. And you see the volunteer light up, and you see the people that they're serving, their face lights up too.
And I do know, just from our experience in the volunteer world, that a lot of agencies had long-standing volunteers who quite sadly now have passed away. Mercy had a set of twins that would have been perfect for this award. But we're looking, I still talk about the first time I did the United Way Day of Caring as the chair. We went over to the CP house, Cerebral Palsy house, and you had to walk into the basement, down in this dark basement of the house, and there were these ladies cleaning toys. And they did it every year. Plus, I'm sure they did it during
They
the
did
year.
it the rest of the time,
And
too.
they were having fun and they were talking about it. But here they were hidden away doing this. And I did the Day of Caring for 13 years, and it was the same ladies all the time. That's the kind of people you want to get, the energetic, the supportive, the ones who really will do anything for their agency.
Well, in with cerebral palsy, which is now Covey, but with Judy Britton there and everything, she had a group of ladies and men who were the backbone of the agency. Very little staff, but a ton of volunteers. And it was very difficult telling Judy no. I know, because I used to get phone calls hours of the day and night. But they had fun doing what they were doing. And working with Judy, she always showed up. It wasn't just you come volunteer and I'm going off to a meeting or I'm going to. Judy always made it a point to be available if she could. And laughing at herself and laughing with the others. And it just, you left feeling good for a variety of reasons.
And I'm glad you mentioned Covey, because now Covey is one of the groups that comes to Aurora, and they make the tray favors. They bring the residents along and they make the tray favors for us, and they do a wonderful job. But to me, it's not the tray favors either. It's the expression on their faces and the laughter and joy that comes from them creating something. So there is so many opportunities for people to do things behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, as a family or by yourself. So like I said, our information's at the end. We want to make this program about Oshkosh. Oshkosh is Event City. There's a lot to do, so we need a lot of volunteers.
I'd like to jump in just a little bit. We're still talking Covey. There is a young man from Covey who just graduated from high school. And because of his volunteer services, as well as his academic and everything, he was able to get a $1,000 scholarship from one of the local service organizations and has gotten another total of $3,000 in scholarships. His grandma lives down the hall from me, so that's how I'm privy to it.
That's really nice.
And that speaks well to a young man who has had a lot of challenges to overcome, and to be able to get not the $100, $200 scholarships, but the $1,000 scholarships.
Well, here our time is down once again. I just want to mention again, the Back to School Fair is Thursday, August 16th. Come out and volunteer or go out and donate. We're so glad that you could be with us with this action-packed show about Oshkosh Event City, about Oshkosh Rocks, all the good things going on in Oshkosh. I'm John Neiman with Aurora Medical Center.
And Judy Ritchie as community advocate.
Thank you very much, and enjoy your wonderful summer.